Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty amazing, a project where ancient art and modern algorithms come together, teaching a computer how to master the beautiful and incredibly complex art of Persian calligraphy.
So let's kick things off with a puzzle. Computers think in the simplest possible terms, ones and zeros, right? On and off. So how in the world do you teach that kind of binary logic to create something with the artistic feel and the historical depth of ancient calligraphy? It seems like it should be impossible, doesn't it?
Well, to understand how they pulled it off, we first have to get to know the art form itself. We're talking about a very specific type of ancient Persian script called Margolus. And as it turns out, it has some, well, very interesting properties that make it kind of unique.
What's so wild about Margolus script is that it's almost like a digital language that existed way before computers. Seriously, it's built entirely on a grid of squares, no curves at all, which is just perfect for a pixel-based machine. But, and this is a big but, it's also cursive. The shape of a single letter can change completely depending on whether it's at the beginning, middle, or end of a word. That mix makes it both a perfect candidate for a computer and a super difficult challenge to get right. Okay, so to tackle this puzzle, researchers turn to this really powerful concept from computer science, cellular automata. It's an idea that's all about making really complex stuff happen from really simple rules.
The best way to think about it is like a massive digital domino rally. Each domino just falls over. That's a very simple rule, right? But when you set up thousands of them, that one simple action triggers a chain reaction that can create these incredibly detailed and complex patterns. So in our case, instead of dominoes, we have grid cells. And instead of falling over, they just turn on or off based on what their neighbors are doing.
Now here's a detail that turned out to be absolutely crucial. It's how the cells in the grid update. You could do it synchronously, meaning every single cell changes at the exact same moment. But that can create total chaos, kind of like a huge traffic jam, where the rules for different letters literally crash into each other. The other way is asynchronous, updating cells one by one, in a much more orderly, step-by-step way. And that little difference, well, it turned out to be everything.
So the idea of using cellular automata was great, but the first tools they tried just weren't up to the job. What happened when they applied the standard, synchronous method to generate Margolus script? Yeah, it didn't go so well.
Those first attempts were, to put it mildly, a bust. The absolute simplest method could only spit out one lonely character. When they moved up to more complex 2D models, which look at neighboring cells in different ways, they either got these badly formed clunky letters, or the rules would just start fighting each other, breaking the script as it was being written.
And get this, just to generate one letter, like the Persian letter B, it took this slow, clunky sequence of rules. Not only was the process totally inefficient, taking step after step, but the final result was a mangled character with its dot in the wrong spot. It just wasn't working. This quote from the research paper just nails the core problem. Because all the rules were firing at once, the whole system was just getting confused. The rules needed to draw, say, the letter H would actually interfere with the pixels of the letter M right next to it, completely ruining its shape. The system was literally overwriting its own work. So it was obvious that this approach was a dead end. They needed a total rethink. Instead of focusing on one tiny cell at a time, the researchers started thinking about entire blocks of cells and how to update them in a much smarter, more organized way.
The solution was this brilliant combination of three key ideas. First, they used something called Block Cellular Automata, which looks at 3 by 3 chunks of the grid at once. Second, they switched over to those asynchronous updates we talked about, which finally stopped the rules from clashing. And third, they used a very specific method called the Margolus neighbourhood, which is a really clever way of making those blocks interact in an orderly, alternating pattern.
And this number is the real magic trick. This is the breakthrough. The entire incredibly complex Margolus script, with all 114 of its different character forms, could be generated perfectly with a set of just 40 simple reusable rules. That's it. They had found the elegant, simple logic hidden inside the ancient art.
And here's a perfect example of how clean it is. This table basically shows the recipe for the letter T. Instead of that messy, multi-step process from before, the new system has a single, precise instruction for each form the letter can take. Rule 41 for the initial form, 42 for the middle, and so on. It's organized, it's efficient, and it just works.
So, let's get to the payoff. After all that trial and error,
all the failed attempts in the final breakthrough, what did this new, elegant algorithm actually produce? Let's see how all that code got turned back into art. I mean, the results really do speak for themselves. The algorithm was able to generate entire poems, creating these flowing, accurate, and just beautiful sentences. It followed all the ancient rules of calligraphy perfectly, keeping the baseline consistent and connecting the letters just right.
And you know, this is so much more than just a cool academic exercise. This has some amazing real-world applications. Not only does it help preserve priceless cultural heritage in a digital format, but it also creates entirely new tools for artists and designers. Imagine being able to generate authentic, beautiful calligraphy for a video game or for an animated film. It could even be used in design software for things like carpets or to help display complex scripts on simple, low-tech screens.
This whole project just leaves you with this one really exciting thought. By finding the hidden mathematical logic inside an ancient art form, these researchers were able to preserve it and even reinvent it for a new era. So it makes you wonder, what other parts of our shared human heritage are just sitting there waiting for the right algorithm to come along and bring them back to life?